The sun blazed against the glass of the cathedral-like windows, making the marble floors shimmer. My brother's wedding was a spectacle, an ostentatious display of wealth and adoration, carefully crafted around his life, his success, his perfect bride. I watched from my assigned seat at the fringes of the grand ballroom, my champagne untouched, the chatter around me a blur. The walls were dripping with gold accents and floral arrangements that probably cost more than my college tuition. But none of it impressed me. I was too consumed by the hollow ache growing in my chest, one I hadn't anticipated when I agreed to fly in from my estate in Napa Valley. They had done it again, put him on a pedestal so high, it seemed divine. Julian, the golden child. Julian, who could do no wrong. Julian, who had inherited not only my parents' affection but now, it seemed, their last ounce of decency. I hadn't been home in nearly 2 years. My life was quiet and successful in its own right. My tech startup had been acquired for an 8-figure sum, and I had finally bought my dream estate nestled in the vineyards. It was my sanctuary, a place I had worked my entire adult life to afford. But none of that mattered now. Not when I found myself ambushed by my own parents in a side room during the reception. "We need to talk," my mother had said, her voice crisp with that familiar condescension she tried to mask as concern. "Now?" I asked, glancing toward the dance floor where Julian and Elise were swaying under a canopy of fairy lights. "It's important," my father chimed in, adjusting his cufflinks. "Family important." I followed them into the antechamber, where the sound of laughter was muted behind gilded doors. My mother didn't waste a second. "Your brother and Elise are planning to move back to California. They want to start a family. And your estate, it's just too much for one person." I blinked. "What?" My father clasped his hands. "We were thinking, it might be the perfect home for them." For a second, I thought it was a joke. Then I saw their faces, earnest, hopeful, utterly blind to the insanity of what they were asking. They wanted me to give up my home, the one thing I had built on my own, so their favorite son could play house. "Let me get this straight," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You want me to give Julian my house?" "Not give," my mother said, as if that somehow softened the blow. "Let them live there for a while, until they find their footing. It's not like you're even there all the time," my father added. That's when I laughed. It was short and bitter, and caught in my throat. "You're unbelievable." "It's just a house," my mother snapped, her mask of civility slipping. "But this is your brother's future." "I thought my future mattered too," I said. They exchanged glances, the kind you share when someone just doesn't understand their role. It wasn't just about a house. It was the culmination of years of being the second choice. Of every graduation, every accomplishment of mine being followed by a bigger, louder celebration of Julian's. I left them there, in that sterile little room with their illusions. The rest of the night passed in a haze. I didn't speak to Julian. I didn't congratulate him. I didn't even pretend. But that wasn't the worst part. That came later. Elise texted me 2 weeks after the wedding. At first, it was innocent. Thank yous, updates about their honeymoon in Santorini, questions about the house's square footage and local amenities. Then it became something else entirely. "You always were the mysterious one," she wrote one night, around midnight. "I used to wonder what it would have been like if I met you first." I stared at the message for hours before replying. "Why are you saying this?" "I don't know," she wrote. "Maybe because I can't stop thinking about you." And that night, my chest tightened. There had been a moment 2 summers ago. A family retreat. Before they were engaged. Julian had passed out drunk after one too many cigars and cocktails. Elise had wandered out onto the deck where I sat alone. The stars vast above us. We talked. We drank. We confessed too much. Then she kissed me. I stopped it. But the memory stayed. Apparently, it had stayed with her too. Over the next few weeks, our messages grew longer, more intimate. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to believe what I was doing. I justified it by reminding myself that I owed Julian nothing. But lies have a way of feeding on silence. And desire doesn't wait for permission. The next time I saw Elise, it wasn't at a family gathering. It was at my house. She claimed she was in the area. She wore a beige trench coat and nothing beneath it. I didn't stop her this time. It became a pattern. Secret weekends. Late-night calls. Whispered admissions of regret. She told me Julian had changed, that he wasn't who she thought he was. But I knew better. She was searching for something that glittered more than gold. And I was foolish enough to give it to her. Then just as suddenly she vanished. No calls. No texts. Weeks passed. I assumed she had chosen him after all. It was only when my mother called, voice trembling with something that sounded a lot like panic, that I realized the truth. Elise left him, she whispered. And she's pregnant. The implication hung between us like a noose. My hands went numb. She never confirmed it. Never denied it either. But she did send me a picture, a sonogram grainy and black and white with a single message. I'm keeping it. I knew then what I had done. Not just to Julian, but to myself. My parents never looked at me the same way again. Julian won't speak my name. The estate is empty now. I left it months ago. Sold it even. I couldn't bear to walk through those halls and remember. People think betrayal is loud, shouting, slamming doors, angry tears. But it isn't. It's quiet. It's Elise's perfume lingering on my skin. It's a house I'll never step foot in again. It's the echo of a wedding toast, raised for someone else. I wanted love. I wanted recognition. In the end, all I got was a silence so thick it drowns everything. Some homes you leave by choice. Others, you're pushed out of by the very people who claim to love you. And sometimes, in your loneliness, you reach for the one person who should have been untouchable, only to realize too late, you've burned your last bridge for a fire that was never yours to start.